Well, welcome back to my channel Mispronounced Adventures. My name's Alex and welcome to my 4x4 MAN TGE adventure van build. To replace my much loved Ford Transit, which I've spent the last 4 winters using in the Arctic, to build a new adventure van to take to the Arctic and a bunch of other places as well, I hope. This is a planning video where we're going to be using CAD, cardboard aided design, as a low-tech solution and a high-tech solution of AI to give me a feel of what it might look like. So let's get on with it. Now, as you can probably imagine, I've been planning this layout and build for over a year now, but you can do all the sort of measurements and plan it digitally, but until you've actually got the vehicle in the space, it's hard to actually lay it out. So I have 2 or 3 layouts I want to go for, and I've been storing massive bits of cardboard over the last couple of months to hopefully mock up my plan in cardboard to give me a real feel of the space. And now that the ply lining, the bulkhead are all removed, it's the best time to do it. But let's set the scene of what I want the build to have, and then we'll go from there. Much like my Ford Transit Yeti, I want to build my own bulkhead and have an insulated sliding door so I can walk through, go into the cab, close the door. Yet many people prefer captain's chairs so you can have them spun round and you can make the space bigger. For me, personally, I like having the cab closed off and having a sliding door and a single passenger seat so I can have a walk through, because that's what's important to me. So there will be a new insulated bulkhead going here, and I will get a single passenger seat at some point. If anyone knows where I can buy one, shoot me a message. Another important factor for me is having a shower room, which I love in the previous van build, Yeti. Not only a shower room, it's also a kit drying room and storage when I needed to move 4 tyres. Sometimes my own genius is staggering. You've got all the filters at the back, so it is a recirculating shower system. Turn the recirculating shower on. Give it a second to run the hot water through. For other people, not something they want or need. For me, one of my key things is to have a fixed wet room and drying room to use. Now, in Yeti, it's right behind the driving seat, but I've got some other ideas of where it could potentially go, so we'll try those out in the layouts. And much like Yeti, I want a full-size spike slide to come out. Might go this side again, a bit like the Transit, or it might go this side depending on the layout. That's one of the things I need to experiment with. And once again, I also want a large workbench. So in the Transit, I've got about 2.5 metre workbench doing projects. This is where I do most of my electrical projects. Gear reviews, kit reviews, disassembly, maintenance. Generally, for me, very, very useful space, which not many vehicles have such an open workspace. Building back in here again, and a fixed kitchen. Now, the bed is something you're going to have to imagine and visualise for the purpose of this video. I like multi-purpose beds. I don't want a fixed bed. My Ford Transit has the fold-down style Murphy bed, which has been brilliant. And I was going to do the same thing again, but on this van, I don't really fit because the roof is about 10 centimetres lower. So I've got this van booked in for a roof pod to get put on, which cuts off the roof from about here to here, from the very back pillar, all the way to about here, I believe, on a medium wheelbase. And that's going to add about 30 centimetres of new height. In total, I think maybe about 27 centimetres inside, which means I'm going to do an up and down lowering bed, which is going to disappear seamlessly into the roof, or at least that's the plan. And that's going to be some later videos to do. But for the context of this, just imagine the bed is in the roof and everything down here is the layout. One of the things I wanted to add is I want to free up the space down here. I want to have potentially a big workbench on one side, and I want a bit more of a sofa lounging area on one of these sides. So that's sort of the rear casual seating, which could be somewhere to eat, hang out and relax, because I didn't really feel I had that in Yeti because I was using a double bench seat. But the double bench seat is the next bit I want to bring up. So in Yeti, I use the double bench seat in the back and I had it belted near the door, fixed down to the floor, and use the integrated belt. So I still retained 3 seat belted seats: driver, front passenger, rear passenger. Much like on my Transit, the seat belt for the bench seat for one of them is on the pillar. That's where it's going to stay. So I don't need to change on my V5 that I've changed the number of seats the van can have capacity wise, because it's still 3 seat belted seats. I'm going to once again do the same. I'm going to take out the bench seat and I'm going to move it into the back somewhere. And that's the first thing I need to do in the video. Get this bench seat out so I can actually figure out where it's going to go. And to get this out, just need to go get some tools and unbolt all of these points here, and it should just hopefully pull out. And the seatbelt is actually just attached to the pillar, so this should come off quite easily. And then we can roughly put it into the back of the van to have a look. Right, just a 16mm, and let's so it might be able to just ratchet, might make life easier. One short extension bar. This is awkward. We're going to turn the camera off and wait till it's got unbolted. Right, there should be all the bolts loose. Let's see if we can get the chair out. Maybe I missed a bolt. I'm not. Okay, helps if you don't miss a bolt. I missed that bolt which lives under the plastic housing for the electrics. Right, attempt 2. Right, there we go. Well, could this be the new filming intro location for the van? Let's find out. Let's find out with the cardboard aided design section. So I've got about 3 layouts I want to try, and you can draw them out, but you can't really get an idea of how well it's going to work until you've done it, until you've actually kind of built it in person. So I went online and Googled MAN TGE floor diagram. And to my surprise, I found this. More specifically, this. MAN van floor plan by Freedom Strider. Now, Freedom Strider are friends of mine. I've known them for about 5 or 6 years, and I didn't know they'd made this product. Now, like any good friend, I called Sam and Polly up and said, can I have a free copy of your product, please? And they agreed. Now, what I want to say is I was not prepared. I wanted a floor plan, and this is a 176-page PDF document. This is specifically for the long wheelbase MEN, so I'm going to need to modify the diagram. But I just want to quickly show you how in-depth this is. Right, you've got your floor plan layouts, measurements, footwear measurements, seating arrangements. But it even goes on to the layout of the chassis members, the AdBlue fuel tank, the exhaust system, areas where you could safely drill because there's nothing underneath, areas where you shouldn't drill because there's the axles, there's the exhaust, temporary areas, and just it goes on and on and on. From front wheel drive version, rear wheel drive version, you've got the side profiles, the door side profiles, it just seat dimensions, roof dimensions, side on dimensions, even all the way down to the distances involved in the interior windows, the doors, the roof castellation dimensions and locations, the roof strut locations, and even like cross sections of the castellations with your measurements. The ribs, basically a very, very detailed document. And this is the one for the MAN TGE or the Crafter in the long wheelbase, though they are working on a medium wheelbase. So I've just temporarily borrowed the long wheelbase diagram and I've shortened it because I can physically measure what's shorter here. But they've also got the Sprinter, the old Crafter, I think some of the Relays and Ducatos, and they've made these documents for most of these vans, as well as they've also got some free courses and sessions you can sign up for as well. So a pitch for my friend's products: if you're building an MAN and you want extremely detailed drawings of it, consider their layout planner on their website, and I'll put a link from the description below. Since we're on a discussion of plans, one of the things I need to fix is this. This is my bottle of Holy, and I now have a van with more cup holders than I've ever had in my life, but unlike the Transit, which this thermal flask fits in, this doesn't fit in any of them. Now, I do actually use the thermal flask to drink from whilst I'm driving because it's quite easy with its open cap, but the MAN's cup holders are so small. Does anyone have any recommendations of how I can get bigger containers to fit in here? I could drill it out, or I might design something in 3D and print a slightly wider version to hold it up. What do people think? And Holy, once again, have sent me another care package. And with that seamless segue, Holy is this video's partner. Now, I have been using Holy for about 5 months now, and it has cut down on the amount of energy drinks I drink by about 95%. Energy drink. My energy drink is a free energy drink. Energy drink. Drink. Which is probably good for me, I'm told, and good for my bank balance. This month, there is currently got a deal on for the starter pack, which has so many different flavours in, to get £5 off of my code and then an additional £10 off as well, making it the cheapest price of the year. And then they've also sent me in a surprise package, Bubblegum Butterfly, which is part of their upcoming Black Friday Candy Week and a massive giveaway they're doing. That's more or less it. I've been drinking Holy. Consider checking it out with the information or the links here or in the description. And back to the main video. Right, one of the things that they actually mention in their document is everything is to scale. So if you can work out when you're printing and what that scale is between the picture and reality, then you can draw out your diagrams to fit. And that's what I've done. I've got 3 main layouts I want to go for. For a color key, this reddish color is the bike slide. So they're going to be the new big workbench and have the bike tray underneath it and the major storage, just like the current van. This bit here is the double bench seat. Orange is the table for the double bench seat, which might be movable or fixed depending on which layout. Purple is the shower room. Mustard is the kitchen space. And blue is the sofa area, which will have the electrics underneath it and probably some other things as well. You can probably all notice I'm on a box at the minute because when I brought all the boxes in to assemble them, they kind of got in the way, so I just roughly made the layout. So layout number 1 we're going to look at is this one. Layout number 1. Bike slide at the back right corner, same as where it is in Yeti, that's going to be the new workbench. Shower room in front of the sliding door. And this was an important one that I wanted to build because I wanted to feel if this felt a bit oppressive? Oppressive? Not impressive. Oppressive with its size being where it is. Double bench seat, which is just here. Sort of kitchen area, which is what we're currently on at the minute. And then the sofa area. And that's what I built, so let's have a look. This is a sliding bulkhead door. This is a fixed bulkhead, and that's a sliding mechanism. Obviously that would cross through that, a bit like Yeti at the minute. These final sizes would make more sense though when I've actually built something. Layout number 1, shower room in front of the door. Rudimentary, but I want to fill the space. So this would be the bulkhead, probably the fixed bulkhead here, semi-bulkhead there, and then the sliding mechanism. Double bench seat, table there, table could fold up and away. And we're going to close the sliding door. Right, in the van. This would obviously go full height. This is about 55, 60 centimeters at the back by 80, so almost the same shower room size as Yeti, and it doesn't feel too big in this space. Still plenty of space for me to walk through. Into the kitchen area, probably sink here, open area there where I could put the coffee machine or an air fryer when it's in use. Onto then the induction stove area, and I'll probably have this corner cut off. Same for the shower room, I might cut the corner off. Into the sofa area. Now whilst this is on the wide angle, it doesn't actually look too big. This is about 1.30 meters. This sofa area is about 1.20 meters. And if this is the sort of kitchenette here, I'd either have an extension bit which can fold up like that, or just slide out to make this a little bit bigger. If you want to work in the kitchen, you need all of the space, although I've had infill on the sink there for chopping board. Sofa, so you still have half a sofa, and the electrics would be under here. And then around the back of here would be the new workbench, so where all the videos get filmed. At the minute, oops, that would work out to be about 170 centimeters long workbench, and probably about there, about 60 centimeters deep, which is going to be similar to what it is at the minute. So the bike slide would fit on there going out the door, and my big workbench there with a window here, probably this TV there, and then the vent window there again like Yeti, and then 2 glass windows at the back. And then bedtime mode, which we're going to have to use the imagination, is the bed would descend down from the ceiling, so down to there, all the way to the back doors. Same for here, it would descend down and just be over this bit of the lip and this bit of the kitchen. So again, gives me quite a large bed of around, that's about 1.80 meters across, I believe, and this is about 1.70. Although I would probably have something here, because the bed's going to come down and stop there, some sort of shelf to make sure the pillows can go on there and don't fall down the back. That is sort of design number 1, and for me, it still feels spacious in here. There's still a lot of space. This isn't too much of a tight gap to walk through, and then this is going to feel quite open with the seating area to sit down there, and then the bike slide for all the storage, and then this will all be cabinetry for storage, and cabinetry all the way along there. Probably a window there as well, and then the bulkhead would be up there. Right, time for layout 2. Pretty similar at the back, is just swapping the shower room and the kitchen around. Quite conveniently, these boxes stacked open like this are 90 centimeters tall, which is about a normal work surface. Also, imagine if the shower room was there, it would go into the roof. Right, let's swap that around then. So, that was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Time to swap it around. Well, that wasn't actually much work at all. So, layout 2. This is a bit more of your classic camper van layout. Double bench seat there, that spins around, although I was talking about my bulkhead, so my table coming down there. Window, shower room, kitchen in front of the half in front of the door, and then normally on most vans, this would be then the fixed double bed at the back, although I will have my raised and low bed, so still staying the same. My big workbench, actually a really long workbench, so I include that. And then the bike slide. I would have this come back a bit further out for the bike slide as it is in the minute, and then it has to go in slightly for the kitchen there, just to make this gap a little bit more usable. Shower room, workbench, and then this is the sofa. This time around, sofa is a bit longer here, it's about 1.70 meters, although potentially you could have a little shelf here. But this one makes the shower room quite small. I mean, this is only, well, when measuring this line here, from there to about that back bit there is 1.70. So I don't want this to be any shorter, because then it starts to encroach on the bed, and I sleep lengthways. So the shower room can't really come much further this way, otherwise this just ends up being like a 1.50 meter bed, and that's not going to work. But this only makes the shower room itself about 45 centimeters, which isn't much. Potentially, this could come forward a little bit, but then it really starts to, from having a solid wall there, it really starts to encroach on that area there. Yeah, then it starts to really get a little bit tight here, and I'm not the biggest fan of how close that is. But if I did want to do that, that would make the shower room probably 10 centimeters larger and usable. At the minute, that's about 70 odd deep, but only about 45 centimeters wide, which isn't really enough. It needs to be a little bit wider. So that shower room there would work, but it makes this area considerably smaller. Also, you still get all the storage. So that is your more classic layout. Let's try the next one. So this version probably feels the safest to me, just because it's the exact same layout as Yeti. Double bench seat there, so I'd have to have some sort of table coming up here. to use on lagoon mount. Shower room there, it's nice and big, but it's out of the way. The sliding walk-through, same as last time. And then goes into kitchen here. Again, similar to this time. I would probably cut off that corner though, and just so this is a bit wider the gap. And then coming into the back, yep, you could have the sofa area there and just have a smaller kitchen. Or you could go for, and the bike slide there, much like it is at the minute on Yeti, and then have that as a new big workbench. Or really, they could get swapped around as well, so that could go on that side. Have the full length workbench running all the way down the van, and then have the sofa area sort of behind here, behind these bench seats, going to the back of the van. That would potentially work, but it would feel a bit weird having such a big bench which backs onto another bench. And the other issue with this is Joe now joins me in lots of the trips. Good morning. And the advantage of when I've got the seat there, I can have a swivel seat there, the door open, and then we can have sitting together to eating dinner. I mean, you couldn't do there, but it's a bit tight to eat a dinner next to people on a bench seat. But that is the other option. What's your sort of favourite layout? And put a comment below explaining why. Time for the AI bit. And a few weeks ago on the train, I got a bit bored and photographed my empty bottle of blue Powerade and told ChatGPT to make it the red flavour. And that worked quite well. So I thought, whenever I do these layouts, I'm going to take loads of photographs and then I'm going to ask ChatGPT to turn it into my camper van. And first version worked quite well. Then I was a little bit more specific with colours, and although it kept making a new head for AI Joe every time. For the actual layouts, I've written a really detailed prompt about being very specific on what I want, otherwise it kind of gets a bit free rein and does its own thing. And then asked ChatGPT to turn these cardboard mock-out into an impression and a rendering, simulation of the final look of what it might look not being cardboard and actually furniture. So here we go. Here's layout number one. First off, the layout with the shower in front of the door. And overall, I quite like this particular one. And then from the back of the van looking forward with the sort of miniature L-shaped kitchen and the sofa, along with the big bench on the left. Although it did really struggle with the whole concept of a shower room near the door, it kept turning it into a wardrobe. Layout number two, which is the more traditional van layout with the double bench seat followed by the shower room and then the rear area. And then on the driver's side, I've got the kitchen sitting in front of the door and then to a long workbench. Which it kind of did a better idea of imagining, although it did keep giving a random kitchen behind the shower room for some reason. Anyway, here's layout number three. Layout number three is a bit similar to what Yeti is at the minute, with the shower room behind the driving seat and the double bench seat in front of the sliding door, and then going back into a kitchen and seating area and a big workbench. Although I have no idea why it's giving me overhead baggage storage from an aircraft at the back of it. Now, whilst it's probably abundantly clear that these don't necessarily look bang on, one of the things I found is the more detailed I made the prompt, the more unpredictable the results would be. But one of the things I did quite like was during testing those detailed prompts where I talked about particular decor, the orange coloured floor I want, the cork ceiling, the bamboo worktops, dark grey furniture with potentially some sand coloured or orange coloured feature material walls with LED bounce lighting. It actually did give some pretty good concepts and ideas, and then occasionally it just left boxes and made random bathrooms. And I am going to have a bulkhead. I just didn't want to confuse the AI even more than it was already getting. Well, I thought that was a pretty interesting use for AI. Even if it wasn't entirely successful, I think it made some interesting and visual results and at least gave me a good visualization of what my planned color theme could look like. Anyone used AI on their van build or other ways I could use it for developing this? Post in the comments below. So those are all three layouts, and what do you think? Put in the comments below. Do you like layout one, which has the shower room in front of the door? Layout two, which has it behind this seat when it's on the other side, although I do feel the shower room is quite small and that compromises the length of the bed, or the traditional Yeti version. And yeah, once again, remember the bed is going to be in the ceiling during the day and generally invisible, so it's been a multi-purpose space. Personally, I like version one. I think the shower room in front of the door, half in front of the door, does work quite well. It didn't feel too oppressive or in the way, and it meant after you got past it, then you had all of this space, and the van opened up into the seating area and the back area. So I kind of liked that. It also still gives you a nice big area at the front of the van to take clothes off or get changed or put kit away. And to organise stuff, so still plenty of space. On any of those layouts, it gives me the full through walk-through between the back doors and the front and the cab, much like a Yeti, and that's one of the main things I wanted to design. This cardboard setup is not meant to be centimetre perfect. It's meant to more be an object in the space to feel about it. Actually, the diagrams I showed from Sam and Polly and those drawings are more to scale and measured up to be the correct layout. But yeah, interested to see what you think. But now, since I've got a pretty good idea of what I want to do, I can start getting the windows booked in and many of the other jobs before I try and get to the Arctic this winter. But thank you very much for joining me. If you've enjoyed this video, consider checking out the rest of the MAN TGE build series. Or if you're really enjoying it, consider joining the memberships, or maybe the Ford Transit build series, or the Arctic stuff where I take it. Other things is there's Amazon links in the description, so if anything you've seen, it might be listed down there. I work for Roma, which is a UK lithium battery company, and I do their customer consultations designing electrical systems for vans. I'm also a brand ambassador for Autotherm for their engine preheaters, diesel air heaters, which are all both going to be going in this van, and their hot water systems. But really, I just want to make content for you guys to enjoy. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.